What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here with another episode of Steelers Touch and Under. Today's episode, we are talking Senior Bowl attendees, Senior Bowl invites, and players that I'm watching, including players that I'm watching if they've actually skipped this week. We're going to try and talk about ones that are mainly participating this week. Obviously, this is coming out at the start of day 2 with the practice, so some of these names you're already going to be hearing about the first days, a lot of the weigh-ins and stuff like that. But things will continue through the course of the week as we get closer to the Senior Bowl game. So, my players to watch. Now, I've done these mostly by alphabetical order, and then I added one guy in at the end, two guys in the end that screwed it up. We're going to talk about 15 players, mix of offense and defense. A lot of them are more on the offensive side of the football. That is because there's some really good defensive players in this year's draft that guys that didn't qualify for the Senior Bowl or guys that pulled out. Like, I would have definitely had Andrew Makuba there from Texas Longhorns. He pulled out this week, so that kind of sucks. Same as Malachi Moore. Big Makuba fan as a Texas Longhorns fan, but he did pull out. We're here to talk about the guys that are accepted, that are playing there for the most part. So, the first guy on my list alphabetically as well is Alfred Collins, D tackle out of Texas. Hugely disruptive player. If you saw him play even in games against Georgia where the Texas Longhorns struggled, any of the big games they played this season, Alfred Collins is a mess in the middle. And you go and draft a guy like Alfred Collins, probably need to spend a late first on him, early second. That means you can move Benton outside, then you've got Cam Hayward on the other side. Alfred Collins is going to just destroy teams. The thing is, for me, is that I think he, as an interior D lineman, he might be looked at by some 4-3 teams. I'm going to be really interested to see as the draft process goes on what sort of scouting he gets in terms of where the versatility, where the position fits. I think he's scheme versatile just personally. I've been watching him for years, and I think you could build him into a really destructive DT. And then again, he's probably athletic enough to move him outside to where Cam Hayward, not like outside, but to where Cam Hayward plays when Cam Hayward moves on. Kind of do his apprenticeship on the interior in his rookie year. Next guy I've got is Cameron Scatterbo. Now, that's not a guy I'm just jumping on the train with. I want to see if he can turn into his awesome playoff game against the Longhorns. I want to see if that guy can convert the energy, the yardage, the hype into something real against some of the other good running backs at the Senior Bowl. So that's why I've got Cameron Scatterbo on the list. Then I've got Carson Vincent, an offensive lineman out of Alabama A&M, a local guy. I've been hearing a little bit about him going back to the end of November. And so I'm really interested in him because I think he's someone, again, I'd like to see where he lines up on the O-line. He could be a super late round guy. He kind of reminds me of... There's a guy that plays for the Bengals. Starts also as Carson. Anyway, he was this guy's Carson Vincent. Anyway, the guy played at North Dakota State University. Can't believe it's Cordell Volson. That's the guy. Played at North Dakota, not Carson. Cordell Volson played at North Dakota State University. Scheme versatile. Played a bit of tackle, played a bit of offensive guard, ended up playing a lot of guard for the Bengals. Was like I think it was a 5th or 6th round draft pick. I had like an up to a 4th round grade on him, 3rd round grade with an opportunity to start, and he has done that in the NFL. So I want to see if Carson Vincent's like the second coming of Cordell Volson. Then I've got Colin Oliver, who's a linebacker out of Oklahoma State. Now, he's a guy that's sort of come across my radar more recently. I want to see if he can live up to the hype here at the Senior Bowl. Then, I wish I'd put this video out yesterday. I'd planned to do that earlier in the week. But Deion Walker, the big D lineman out of Kentucky, the guy had 7.5 sacks in 2023, 1.5 sacks last year, so production kind of fell off. Kentucky had a very average year compared to the previous year that they'd had as well. So the whole Will Levis part, all that sort of stuff. So I think ultimately, I want to see Deion Walker. The guy's huge. The guy's 6'6", 6'7", 348 pound. The guy's just absolutely humongous. I want to see him over the course of this week. I want to see him go up against the top offensive lineman. Has he got the... it's not just like the athleticism and the speed and the punch, but it's also the endurance. I want to see that guy... You're going to get multiple downs out of that guy. It's really important. Jordan Davis set a standard there a few years back with the Philadelphia Eagles, who's drafted by. All right, 6th player on my list is Donovan Edwards in Michigan. I hadn't seen that he'd been pulled out. I tried to find that. Now, Donovan Edwards, if you go to a mock draft right now, you're going to get him anywhere from 3rd, 4th, all the way through to 7th. I'm really keen on seeing where this guy lands. This is really important. The tape here against the top guys and being able to make big runs and breaks is going to be really important because I don't think he's going to run a very fast 40 time. Or it's going to be a slow. It's probably not going to Najee Harris style 40-yard time. So really keen to see Donovan Edwards have a big week. Likewise, Devin Neal, the running back out of Kansas State, 5'9", 5'10", 215 pounds. Scored a heap of touchdowns, a heap of yardage. Really proven production player. I've got a tip that he could be the best running back there this week. If that's the case, he's going to massively bump up his draft stock. Want to see him go against there. It's really important because there's guys like Christian Jenkins out of Ohio State that he'll be competing with for like top running back honors in the draft. So that's really important. Big week from Devin Neal could really solidify his draft stock and also help the Steelers look at maybe getting the guy in the 3rd or the 4th round. The 8th player of the 15 players I'm going to talk to you about is Gunnar Helm, a tight end out of Texas. Yes, I've got a few Texas players there. I want to see the long guys that I support in the Longhorns. But Gunnar Helm had a really good year. Gunnar Helm definitely caught a lot much more touchdowns than what a lot of people probably expected. Made some really big plays in some really key games, like when Texas flattened Michigan earlier on in the year. Like really good player, athletic, big. I want to see more from him through the draft process for his NFL blocking, but he wasn't bad. I didn't think he was that bad at a college level. But why would I be picking a tight end to watch? Not just because of the Longhorns side. I think the Steelers need to keep looking at tight end. Darnell, we saw a little bit at the start of the season. We didn't see much after that. I know Pat's on a big deal. If you could get 2 receiving tight ends like Baltimore have in Andrews and Likely, that is going to do a lot for an Arthur Smith offense. So I'd love to see them look at Gunnar Helm. Right now, most people got about a 3rd round grade on him. So we're interested to see what week he has. Then Jalen Milroe. Now, this is a guy that could be anywhere 3rd or 4th to back end of the 1st, depending on what his draft process looks like. Incredibly athletic quarterback, pretty good arm. Apparently, I've heard rumors the Steelers kind of like him. So, I mean, that's all rumors. That's all hearsay. I don't take all that with a grain of salt. But Jalen Milroe is someone that I really want to see this week. Want to see the mobility, want to see the passing, but I want to see accuracy as well. So, really key from him. Then there's a guy. Now here's a guy. Jaden Higgins. Now, this is a guy that's been on my list for a little while. I've talked about it on the channel about starting to do my draft stuff. This guy is ginormous. I think it's 215, 6'4" off the top of my head. To 220. This guy is massive. Quite a bit of production for Iowa State. I want to see this guy move. You pair this guy with a George Pickens, it's going to be really difficult. You pick a savvy veteran too, like a Keenan Allen, spend a bit of capital there, and you're going to have and then your 4th wide receiver is like a Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson. This is an awesome way to pad out a room. So Jaden Higgins, I want to see him perform this week. I want to see the route running. I want to see his ability to get to the ball where the ball is put on the spot from the quarterback. So big week, hopefully, for Jaden Higgins, but not too big a week. Not too big a week. We want him to still be draftable outside the 1st round. Now, then we get to Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss. Now, he's a guy that I think the Steelers could draft in their current position. Ole Miss, big cornerback, good, really athletic. Want to see him perform this week. I think he's going to have a big draft process. I still think he could be available in the early 20s in the draft, but I think he could be a real steal in those early rounds. So really keen on watching Trey Amos. Then you got a guy who there's been a bit of linkage to him to the Steelers out there in social media land, YouTube land. Wyatt Millam, the O-lineman out of West Virginia, considering we got Zach Frazier out of there last year. The guy's played a bit on across the O-line. A lot of people are saying whether he could play guard or tackle. He did play 32 out of 36 games at tackle for West Virginia. So you kind of think he's probably more of a tackle there at this stage. So I want to see what sort of a week he has. He could massively boost his draft stock. Then you have Charles Grant, the O-lineman out of William and Mary. Now, I've heard this guy a little bit, like 6'3", 6'4". I don't know. I couldn't pull up his weigh-in number quickly before I was doing the show. But I had heard he was shy of 300 pound going into the draft process. He's got to be above that through the draft process. So hopefully we can get his weight over the next couple of days. But I more think that rather than his weight at the Senior Bowl, it's actually the weight at the draft that I care more about. I want to know that he can put on the mass, still stay athletic, and I want to see him weigh in at the draft, at the NFL Draft Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. I want to see that happen because I think that's more important to see whether not just he packs on the weight for the Super Bowl, but can he keep that weight on as well. And then lastly, I've got Pat Bryant, wide receiver out of Illinois. This guy's, I think, 6'2", about 200 pounds. Another big wide receiver. You can see here I want to bring in a big-ass wide receiver. I want a little guy. We've got the little guy in Calvin Austin. Roman Wilson's not a big bloke either. I want to get the big bruiser. I want to get the guy that's going to run full steam over the top of people. That's what I want to see at the wide receiver position. I think that will open it up, especially like blocking if they bring back Justin Fields. I think we'll open up options if they were to bring back Russ, although I'm leaning more towards Fields at the moment. Or you set yourselves up to be able to then go get a quarterback either later in this draft or in the next couple of years with these big wide receivers, athletic guys like a George Pickens. And a big guy like this is going to put George Pickens under some threat in terms of being that key receiver. Open up your slot game too with Pat Freeman. I just love the idea of getting a big body wide receiver. But hey, they are the 15 players that I am watching at the Senior Bowl. Of course, I'm watching more than that. But these are guys that I'm really looking out for. Guys that could boost their draft stock. Guys that fit what I think the Steelers are looking for. Key positions. Focused a bit more on the O-line, as I said, because there's younger guys at like cornerback, D-line as well, DT, particularly at linebacker. But these are my positions I'm looking at, particularly around these offensive playmakers. Yes, the quarterback positions there will be important, but Jalen Milroe is really the one I've got my eye on. The other guys could fall anywhere in it. I know Dylan Gabriel is one that people are watching closely. Again, my 15 guys are guys I'm looking into. Doesn't mean that they're all going to be super good players. Doesn't mean they're all going to be like top 3 round draft picks. But they're just guys I'm interested to see how they perform and how that affects their draft stock as the draft process rolls on. But you let me know in the comments, is there a name you've heard already that you like? Is there a name that I've said that you like? Or is there a name that you're looking out for that should be a bit more on my radar? You let me know in the comments. As always, go Steelers.